Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to you all to another Carrick webinar in conjunction with One Global Property Services on international property investment opportunities and, of course, a very exciting new development in London. I have with me today George Radford, Managing Director of One Global, who will shortly go into more detail with you about how One Global are leading the pack in international property and, of course, about the new development in London. I know I'm already due to speak to many of you over the next few days, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jarryd Jacklin. I'm a private wealth manager for the Carrick Group, and I'm based out of our international office situated in Mauritius. Now, this webinar is just one example of the value that we are adding to our clients' portfolios globally and throughout Africa in particular, while continuously helping to create peace of mind in these uncertain times we all found ourselves in. Also, for those of you who are relatively new to your relationship with Carrick, we are an award-winning, independent and holistic private wealth management company, while assisting our clients globally in all aspects of their personal financial journeys. We work closely across multiple asset classes, in hard currencies, and in the most secure jurisdictions with the largest financial institutions, while always maintaining at our core principles of protection, preservation, growth and service. We all know that diversification is key, of course, and today we're discussing property, which is very often at the core of anyone's assets and financial planning, while time and time again it has proven to provide stability, capital growth and international income, but even more so when done correctly. With the massive levels of research that One Global do, you will see why we have chosen to work so closely with them. Just some quick notes before I hand over to George. This is, of course, one of many developments available through Carrick and One Global. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. I'll be picking them up as the presentation continues, and we'll address as many of them at the end in a Q&A session with George. So enough from me. George, welcome. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to share this opportunity with us. And I'll hand straight over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jarryd. A big welcome to everyone. And thank you very much to yourself, Jarryd, and the Carrick team for the invitation and for hosting the event. A bit of background on myself. So I've worked across the Africa region for over 10 years now. I've worked in property for over 20 years, helping clients to invest in international real estate. So where I add a lot of value for clients is having a lot of expertise on the Africa market and having an acute understanding of the investment drivers of clients and the benefits of investing in international property in the right way. So let's provide a bit of background on One Global. So in terms of the business, it's been going since 2017. We've got global offices, so big presence in Asia, the Middle East, Africa. We've got an office in South Africa and also in the United Kingdom. I'm based in the UK, and when the world normalizes again, I'll be traveling back into Africa very frequently. We have clients across the most parts of sub-Saharan Africa, and we've been very successful in helping clients in the East Africa region, in particular, investing in UK property and other markets. So in terms of our business model, what do we do? We're primarily focused on helping individual clients, wherever they are in the world, invest safely, effectively and efficiently in residential buy-to-let property, and we will facilitate that process and manage it from start to finish. So on that, in terms of the services that we provide, so at the front end, like with any investments, not just property, we're very much focused on the research and due diligence and sourcing residential property investments that are market leaders. So working with the best developers in market, doing the due diligence on the developments to make sure that they're good value and they're in areas that are going to deliver high levels of growth, that the developers are well capitalized. We'll inspect their previous products to make sure the specification is second to none. And just ensure that when we're bringing these opportunities to market, that they deliver on their promises, and they deliver the returns that our clients expect. Then from the investment advisory side, we will sit down or have a Zoom call nowadays with clients on a one-to-one basis, understand your requirements. So in conjunction with your Carrick wealth advisor, and really understand your investment needs. And then we will recommend the most suitable buy-to-let property that matches your investment requirements. And then we package it up essentially. So we facilitate the legal process by working with lawyers who are best in market and specialize with international buyers. On the mortgage side, we can facilitate mortgages if clients are looking to leverage properties, and we'll come on to that a bit later on in the presentation. The lettings and management side, we have an in-house lettings and management business. So when our clients' 1 or 2 bed apartments complete in a year or 2 from now, then we manage the whole process of securing the tenant, collecting the rent, doing the handover, the snagging. And then when you wish to exit the investment in 5-10 years from now, then we can help you to resell the property. Okay, so just quickly touching upon some of the developers that we work with. So today, really excited to be presenting One West Point, which is a landmark new development in West London, and that's with City and Docklands, who are a specialist London developer and deliver a world-class product. We also work with many big listed developers, Galliard Homes, Berkeley Group, Barratt London, who are truly market leaders in what they do. So hopefully some of the names on there reinforce to everyone watching the webinar today how we differentiate ourselves and how we take pride in working with some of the biggest and best developers in market to bring our clients the best products. Okay, so just a quick look at the United Kingdom and London. We wouldn't really believe we'd be sitting here 18 months or so after COVID initially kicked off, and we've been experiencing one of the biggest property booms in the United Kingdom's ever seen. In excess of 10-11% growth, and a lot more in some parts of the United Kingdom over the last 12 months, despite the challenges that COVID has presented. That aside, why do clients like investing in the United Kingdom? We obviously know it's a very strong, robust economy. It's top 5 economy in the world, low interest rate environment. So we can give our clients access to very affordable lending. So very, very cheap finance on the mortgage side. The exchange rate, any clients holding US dollar, I know the Ugandan shilling has had a bit of a tough time, but a lot of our clients hold US dollars, so pound is still weak against the US dollar. Very strong and sound legal system. So when buying UK property, we know clients' investments are safe and secure and they're protected. There is a very big undersupply of quality new property in the United Kingdom, about 100,000 units or so plus per year shortfall. So that's obviously creates a very nice supply and demand imbalance, which is good for rental growth and capital growth. World-class education, which I will elaborate on a bit later, but we're one of the key education hubs in the world here in the United Kingdom. The position of the UK from a geographical perspective is very favourable. The transport infrastructure is world-class. London itself has 4 sort of intercontinental airports within an hour of the city, really, which is unrivaled by most capital cities around the world. The Crossrail line, which is a new train line, 100 kilometres running across central London, east to west, is just about to complete. The Elizabeth line, and then the Crossrail, the HS2, sorry, which I'll elaborate on a bit later, is also well underway now. That's linking London to the north, so initially Birmingham and then beyond there Manchester and the like. And as we know, London is a safe haven market. There's a lot of asset protection there, very strong rental market. And if we buy well in the UK, in London, and we hold for 5-10 years, we know invariably clients will benefit from very strong capital growth. So just having a quick look here at a chart. So from showing the property growth in London from 1999 to present day. So we can see in January 2000, the average price of a London property was £130,000. It's quite difficult to believe now. In January 2010, it had doubled, more than doubled, to £279,000. December 2018, it was 473,000, and today, which is not on here, we're currently sitting around £500,000 for the average price of a London property. So it's tripled, more than tripled over the last 20 years, to give an idea. So despite some of those headwinds that you saw there, you know, the financial crisis and so on and so forth, London has still fared pretty well. There's no escaping the fact London has been a little bit flat for the last, 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4 years, but we're really seeing some exciting growth now. And London has been identified by many investment houses. I mean, Schroders has just identified London as the #1 global city. Savills have highlighted London as the #2 place for property investment in Europe. PwC have ranked London as the #2 city for investment prospects from a real estate perspective in 2021 in Europe. So there's so much good news out there about London and the UK currently, which really supports what I'm saying. From a popularity perspective, I find this quite interesting. This shows the popularity of London or the United Kingdom as an investment destination for different regions around the world. So we can see in Africa, the UK is #1, followed by the US, and then Portugal, probably linked to the golden visas. But consistently, all the different regions, it's either the UK or the US, and overall the UK comes out on top as the #1 market globally for buy-to-let investors. So hopefully I've added some light to what we do, the background on the business, where my expertise lie, the services that we provide, and why the UK is a compelling market currently. So I'm really excited to now be launching One West Point, which is a significant landmark development in West London. It's actually going to be the highest residential tower in West London. Over 54 stories in total. And to put that in perspective for those who are quite familiar with London, so here we have the Shard on the right, which is the tallest office building, it's mixed use, but office building in Western Europe. Then we've got the BT Tower, just some of you know that, north of the city. And then we've got One West Point. So I think probably to put it into context, that's the Gherkin there, which is one of the most iconic buildings in London, which everyone's familiar with. One West Point is a bit higher than the Gherkin. I've been to the top of the Gherkin and to the restaurant up there, and it's pretty high. And then you can see here you've got the London Eye and Big Ben, Westminster. So yeah, it is. It's incredible, really, to be working on such a magnificent, significant development. So obviously that comes with unrivaled views across London, and I'm just going to look in a bit more detail at the development, its location. I'm going to focus a bit on infrastructure as well, because that's really key. And then we'll come back to the project itself and look at the facilities that the building has. So One West Point in total is 4 different towers. There are 701 apartments across all 4 towers. The tower that we're focusing on is the tallest tower. It's 54 stories. So let's have a look at where the development is located. So you can see on the map here, we've got the City of London, we've got the West End, Paddington, and then out here we've got Old Oak Common, North Acton area. So Old Oak and Park Royal Development Corporation. This is a £26 billion redevelopment of this part of West London. And you know, some quite staggering statistics there. This is going to create 40,000 new homes in total within the area, and it's going to create 65,000 new jobs, essentially building another city on the outskirts of London, another business district, and that's going to add £7.6 billion per year to the UK economy, which is quite a staggering figure. So just to elaborate a bit more, we are quite literally building a new city here. 1,600 acres of land being developed. Our development is here, One West Point. The new Crossrail and HS2 interchange is going down here at the Old Oak Common station, which I'll come on to just now. And then we've got Grand Union Park over here as well, which is very close to the development, one stop on the tube or the train. And that has all of the amenities and facilities that one could wish to have on their doorstep as well. So let's have a look at the connectivity now. So just to place the development again, sorry, on the map before I go into the connectivity. So we are here, Park Royal, Old Oak Common, North Acton, and then this is the West End, Notting Hill, Hyde Park. You've got amazing views of Hyde Park from the units on the upper floor units, right across London, right across the River Thames, the city. You know, absolutely breathtaking views. But we are here in West London, and then you know, you come further west and you're heading out towards Heathrow, and then to the north you can see there's Wembley there. So hopefully that adds geographically where the property is located. So there's 7 tube and train lines that will serve the immediate vicinity of the property. And to give you an idea, the new train station, the new super hub, Old Oak Common, which is 850 metres from the development, is going to service around 250,000 passengers a day, 250,000 people a day passing through that station. So naturally that is going to significantly fuel the local economy. And this is the biggest purpose-built train station ever built in the United Kingdom. Slightly, the capacity, to give you an idea, is just a bit less than London Waterloo, but London Waterloo has been developed over centuries, or the last 150 years, whereas this is a one-off standalone new station which is going to have a similar capacity. So yeah, very, very significant. Just to continue on that theme in terms of connectivity, it's so important when buying property to make sure you buy in a place which is well connected. So here's the development. Old Oak Common interchange is here. You can get into Bond Street, the West End in 6 minutes, 9 minutes. King's Cross, you know, you can go to King's Cross, you can get onto the Eurostar. You can get to Liverpool Street in 16 minutes, so in the heart of the city. And then on the other way, you can get to Heathrow Airport in 18 minutes, and you can get to Birmingham in 40 minutes. And I think the big point to note, in addition to these journey times, is the frequency of the trains. So Crossrail has a train every 5 minutes, and it has a capacity for 2,000 people per train. So this is really, really going to revolutionise the transport infrastructure. And this is the only point in the whole of the United Kingdom where Crossrail, the London train line, and HS2, the London to Birmingham train line, cross over. It's the only interchange. So the station itself is going to cost £1.3 billion, and it's located 850 metres from the development. So this is how it's going to look. So it's quite significant. As I mentioned, this is the only interchange for Crossrail and HS2 in the whole of the UK, which is quite an accolade for the local area. Here we've got Grand Union Park. I pointed it out on the map earlier, very close proximity to the development. And here you've got commercial, retail, leisure facilities, everything that you could possibly wish to have on your doorstep. So education, I said I'm going to touch upon this again. So Imperial College London, consistently ranked as one of the top 10 universities in the world, is located 4 minutes from the development. So there's a brand new campus being built in White City, and then London School of Economics, that is 20 minutes away from the development, directly on the central line. So you've got two of the best universities in the world, and many others. Obviously, I mean there's a couple of handfuls of world-class universities in London. So having access to these educational facilities in such close proximity to the property is great for tenanting, but also it's a massive driver for the local economy in terms of employment and having skilled labour force fueling the local economy. So let's have a look now a bit more at the development itself. So there's a huge internal courtyard area. I was at the development last week, actually. So between the four towers is a massive internal courtyard. This part of the presentation is quite visual because hopefully it'll serve the it will do the project justice instead of me just talking. So you can see there's huge communal facilities. Every apartment has outdoor space by way of a balcony. In terms of the amenities within the development itself, so we've got 24-hour concierge service, valet parking, there's private dining suites, there's a residence private bar and lounge, there's a Asian restaurant, a new coffee shop, there's a yoga studio, there's a fully equipped gym, there's a screening room. We'll have a look at all of these separately. There's a children's soft play, definitely do some of that for my son, doggy daycare, and there's a co-working space. So this development is really in tune with what people are looking for in this post-COVID, albeit we're not out of COVID, I know, but in terms of living requirements. Requirements have changed since the start of COVID. People want facilities on their doorstep, they want outdoor space, they want amenities, they want co-working, they want business space close to hand, so that they want apartments which are suited and specced out to facilitate working from home. And this development massively is in tune with all of that. So let's have a quick look at the development now. I'm just going to show you a number of pictures to sort of build a picture. So here's the internal reception areas, the coffee shop and part of the communal gardens, the gymnasium. There's a virtual golf. We've got business conference facilities, so home working, also the ability to host conferences. There's a private restaurant as well that serves the business conference centre. There's a private screening room, so you can have dinner here with your friends whilst watching a movie or watching the sport. And now we're going to look at the apartments themselves. So a selection of 1 and 2 bed units across 54 floors, and the finish is exemplary. So all of the appliances, everything is absolutely top notch. It's a picture of the living room now. So really no stones being left unturned, and the attention to detail is fantastic. Having seen a number of City and Docklands developments previously, I have no doubt this will be exactly the same. And just a few more images so you can see the views are going to be absolutely stunning. Okay, just have a quick look at the build progress. Then we will have a look at some of the sort of the key project information, the purchase process, how that works, and then we'll pass back to Jarryd for a Q&A. So we are already up to around the 40th floor. So these pictures were taken the other day. As I mentioned, I was at the property last week, and it really is coming along very well. And until you see it in the flesh, you can't really fully appreciate the magnitude of the development. So just a slight delay here. There we are. And then finally, okay, brilliant. So hopefully, I know there's a lot of slides there. Hopefully there wasn't a big delay, and it's helped to build a slightly clearer picture. So let's have a look at some of the key information. So the developer here is City and Docklands. The title is a 999-year leasehold. It's a virtual freehold. The completion is in Q4 2022. So about 18 months from now, it's going to be phased completion between Q4 2022 and Q1 2023. The tallest tower is 54 stories and 362 units in total, and it comprises of a mixture of 1- and 2-bed apartments. The prices for the 1 beds is starting from just over £500,000, and the 2 beds just under £700,000. It's not on here, but I'll just touch upon a mortgage from a mortgage perspective. So to give you an idea, we can be looking around 60% loan to values for clients that may want to look at financing. Obviously, that's down to one's individual circumstances. We would need to assess clients on an individual basis and assess the ability for them to qualify for an international mortgage. All being well, however, we can leverage up to around 60–65% on these units, which would mean you would require a 35% deposit, say, or a 40% deposit, plus some additional costs, and then 60%, let's say, would be covered by the bank. A few other points: there's a 10-year building warranty, which is obviously crucially important. The 1 beds, the estimated rental values, we're looking around sort of 1,600 up to 1,950 on the 1 beds, and the 2 beds 1,950 to around 2,150. Yields up to around 3.6%, which is very good for a building of this type and of this magnitude and prestige. And there is parking available by separate negotiation. So if people did want parking for their unit, then we can arrange that with the developer. So just have a quick look at the purchase process then, before I pass back to Jarryd. So once we have sat down with a client and we understand the client's requirements, and you've spoken to your Carrick wealth manager and they've understood your requirements, the next step really is to select the most suitable investment for you. It's probably worth adding, this is just one example of many projects that we have across the United Kingdom. So this may not be the perfect match for some people listening today, but we've got many other developments at lots of different prices in different locations that meet other people's investment requirements and maybe are more suitable for some people's budgets. So and your Carrick wealth manager can tell you a bit more about those. But directly linked to this development, in the event that someone wants to purchase a unit in here, then the initial reservation fee is £2,000. So once we've selected a unit, you pay £2,000, that secures your unit. Then once the solicitors have been instructed and the legal documents have been completed, and you're ready to exchange contracts, you'll be looking at paying a 5% deposit. So within 14 days, I think that's quite optimistic. Maybe, you know, within 28 days, let's say from today, we'd be looking at exchanging and paying that 5% deposit. And then there are sort of phased payments over the construction period. So 6 months after the exchange, a further 5%, 12 months, 18 months, a further 5% as well. So by the time the property completes at the end of 2022, start of 2023, then you'll be looking at having put in 20% in total, and then 80% will be payable on completion. And as I mentioned earlier, if we were looking at a 60% mortgage scenario, that would mean you have to put in another 20% deposit, plus obviously some completion cost. So again, just to sort of break that back and make it a bit more real in terms of the amount of money that would require, on a typical one-bed unit, if you were taking a 60% mortgage, over the next 18, 24 months, you'd be looking at putting in around £100,000. And then on completion, you'd be looking at putting in another £100,000, so £200,000 of equity in total, plus completion costs, which would probably be around £50,000. So on a £500,000 unit, you'd be looking at putting in about £250,000 in total, and then the mortgage would cover the other 60%. From an investment and a return on equity perspective, you know, we're always looking to target over a 10-year hold return on equity of, you know, between 70 to 100%. So let's say 7 or 8% per year, based on the equity that's been put into the investment. Obviously, it varies from project to project, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a guide as to what sort of returns we would be looking at. So without further ado, I'd like to thank everyone again for their time, and I'll pass back to you, Jarryd, for the Q&A.
Perfect, George. Thank you very much. A lot of information to go through there. It came across extremely well, and I'm sure that everyone on can see sort of why we are so excited about it. It is a one-of-a-kind development right now. I have seen some questions come through. I've also just made a note of some because quite a few of them do overlap, so I'll go through them very shortly. Just one note as well. I know that a few Carrick advisors with people on the call now today have already set up meetings with a lot of people that have attended. So we're looking forward to speaking to everyone then. If you haven't reached out or you would like someone from Carrick, either your current Carrick representative or someone else within the team to reach out to you directly after this, please just go ahead and type a yes in the chat box, just so we know sort of who is looking for contacts and more information on this. Okay, so we'll be prioritizing those who put yes first, because there are so many people that we do need to, of course, speak to about this. But George, I also say every single time, the level of research that goes into all the developments that you take on is second to none, you know, which is why, of course, we always say this is such good value, not only now, but of course with the long-term investment options. So, okay. So one question was, what are the sort of next processes and next steps, you know, to find out more and to sort of go through the purchase process, or either of this option in London or other options through One Global, George. And you touched on sort of your process, you know, going through finding out exactly what our clients are looking for. But I would say just from our side, the next step is to reach out to your Carrick representative, or of course we will reach out to you as well. We'll set up a meeting, an introductory call, just find out exactly what you are looking for and fit you in directly with George, and George will be able to give you the perfect fit for you. Next question, of course, is that has come through quite often, is how long will this development actually take? So when is the completion expected date? George, could you maybe share a bit of information on that?
Yes, the completion is scheduled for the end of 2022 and possibly the start of 2023. So let's say 18 months from now, you know, potentially a little bit more, but you know, we're well on track to meet this completion deadline here.
Okay, perfect. And I see you have gone through as well the sort of layout and square feet or square meters of all of the apartments that are available. And another question that came through is will these slides be shared with the attendees? The answer is yes. You will all get a copy of this, which has the information that George has gone through as well. Okay. George, just from your side, you've gone through the returns, and that last slide especially is very informative with the sort of finer details. You did, of course, mention there are other options available. One Global has a number of different developments and properties, and are able to tailor make everything for clients of ours. What would you say is the minimum entry level, for not only this project? You have gone through that a bit. What are the sort of entry levels by means of prices and mortgage options? If you could just run through a little bit of that.
Sure. Thanks, Jarryd. I would say, just as a sort of rough guide, from an equity perspective, i.e. the amount of cash a client would need to have readily available to purchase one of our properties, you'd be looking around £100,000. Not necessarily all need to be available in one go. Similar to this development, our other projects are off-plan predominantly, and they do have those spread out payment terms. So if I say that the minimum requirement is £100,000 in total, that would be based on a mortgage, let's say, of around 60%. £100,000 of equity put in by the client, and that would probably be split about 20% at the outset. So let's say about £30,000 to £40,000 for the initial deposit on the exchange, and then the balance of that sort of £50,000 to £60,000 payable on completion, and that could be a year or 2 years later. So just to clarify, £100,000, I would say, give or take, would be the total equity requirement from a client, but that would be spread out over a year, 2 years, maybe a bit more. And that comes back to your earlier point, Jarryd, of the importance of having a one-to-one consultation, understanding a client's individual circumstances, and then putting an investment strategy together that matches their investment needs and aligning that with the right product.
Excellent, thanks, George. And I think what ties in quite well to that point is another question that has come through. You've run through the minimum requirements by means of capital. From a mortgage standpoint, we are dealing with international mortgage options. That is there that you, of course, do help our clients with directly. What are, or if there are any requirements by means of what our clients need to be earning, or their asset backing is like, are there any requirements around that for international financing?
Yes, it really depends on everyone being assessed on an individual case-by-case basis, which we would do on on an initial meeting, and then do in more detail on a sort of mortgage analysis by completing a mortgage questionnaire or a mortgage fact find. To sort of give some high-level information on that, so the things that the banks look at are obviously your nationality, on the basis that a lot of the clients today, or all the clients, are Ugandan, but some may have dual nationality, which can be useful. If you've got British joint nationality, then that can be helpful. Not essential, but helpful. Or if your spouse maybe has a British nationality, that can be helpful. One's employment status obviously is important. So there needs to be income around, say, £40,000 a year from one's employment. So, for example, your annual gross income being around that sort of £40,000 to £50,000, which is what, sort of $65,000 to $70,000 or something like that. If a client works for a big international company, that's obviously helpful as well. Being permanently employed is favourable, albeit we can help self-employed clients, provided they've got audited accounts. One's age is another factor. So typically we can't get mortgage products for clients beyond the age of, say, 70. So if clients are looking for, say, a 20-year term, then probably around sort of 50 years of age, still employed would be not the cutoff, but it would certainly be a getting towards the back end, 50, 55, I would say. And then obviously looking at one's assets and liabilities in a bit more detail. But that in the main is some of the key information. And also, does someone have a UK footprint? Has anyone worked in the UK before? Do they have a national insurance number? Do they have a UK bank account? All of those, do they have a property in the United Kingdom? All of those factors help to contribute towards getting access to a wider range of mortgage products. None of them in isolation are essential, but it all builds to a stronger case, I suppose. So just to clarify, I think it's probably best on a one-to-one basis with individual clients, but we do typically have mortgage options for clients who are working with an income of, say, £40,000–50,000 a year.
Okay, perfect, George. Thank you. I see some other questions are coming through, but they are sort of quite similar to topics that we have covered. What we will do as well at the end of this session, we'll be reaching out directly to answer any questions that maybe we haven't covered in full detail. But George, as you said as well, the first step is, of course, to just have a one-to-one consultation, really get to grips with what each individual is looking for, requirements are, and then we take it from there one step at a time. But George, thank you very much for your time again. I know that you've been extremely busy, as we all have, and I know that this project has been keeping you busy as well. So really looking forward to the feedback that we do get. Everyone who has attended, thank you very much for taking time out of your day. Looking forward to hearing from you all. As I said, we'll reach out, but also please feel free to reach out to your Carrick representative, and we can take the next step further from there. George, thanks once again. Any final words from you at all?
No, just thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Carrick, for organising, and everyone take care of themselves, and I look forward to being in touch.
Perfect. Thanks everyone. Keep well.
Bye.